So Adam, here we are, Selwyn College, Cambridge. It's great to be with you. Tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm a geographer. I try to understand how people relate to nature, how societies are dealing with climate change.
But why the Solomons? Why did you go there?
Climate change is particularly urgent in the Solomons because islands are disappearing, sea levels are rising. They are suffering the consequences of climate change, which have been produced by other people, other cultures, other societies. Nevertheless, there are people within the Solomons who are also contributing to climate change. It's not a simple black and white.
Okay, now you want to involve the church. Now, what is it you're really wanting them to do?
The church can play a pivotal role in mitigating climate change in the Solomon Islands. You have a bunch of islands with very little infrastructure between them. You have boats that go between them. Telecommunications infrastructure is poor, so that means almost no telephones, almost no televisions. On many of the islands, there are barely even roads. So you have people spread out that don't communicate much. But in each of those villages, on each of those islands, there's a church. And everybody goes to church. In the main islands, the most populous islands, are primarily Anglican. So you have a network of churches, and people trust the church more than they trust the government. There is no effective monitoring of climate change. There's a forestry department that does not monitor the forests. There's a fisheries department which does not actively monitor the fish. Climate change is happening in the Solomon Islands, but we don't actually know what is happening. The proposal is to use the church as a scientific observatory.
Now, that's a fascinating concept. An observatory, that sounds medieval, because the church was involved in observing the processes of nature in the past, wasn't it?
Yes, the church has been historically a scientific institution.
And this is a new opportunity for a new dimension of exactly that.
Exactly.
What on earth are you going to get people to do?
The people of the church are the experts. Many people in the Solomon Islands are subsistence farmers, which means that they live off what they grow. People who live off what they grow know what's changing in their environment because they need it and they need to. So there's already information and expertise, knowledge and wisdom in the Solomon Islands amongst lay people. What the observatory is going to do is get that information from them.
So you're using their observation skills to gather information to give you a better picture of what's really happening rather than just telling tales and telling stories.
The way that we imagine it will work is that the headquarters of the Anglican Church in Honiara produce a booklet. That booklet has categories of the environment. We give that booklet to every catechist and every priest in the 2,000 plus churches and vestries. They will use that as a kind of a checklist. And within their church, they will interview people with that booklet. And those booklets afterwards be sent back to Honiara, and that's the basis of the data. We don't have to bring people in to figure out what's happening to then tell people what's happening, because people already know what's happening. So we need them to tell us.
And you are going to gather all this information together, and then that's going to be used by other agencies outside the Solomons, yes?
Well, as soon as we have gathered this data, it will become available to the government, international organizations, to anybody who wants to use it. The problem is dire. And the problem is not just right now and next year, it's for decades and centuries to come.
How long do you think it's going to be before you can feel you've got tangible evidence to make use of this?
The observatory will begin to be implemented as soon as possible, and information will be gathered over a 2-year period, and then we'll see what happens after. If the church wants to remain relevant, it has to provide for people. So it's in the interest of the church to do this.
This sounds an enormous task. It's fascinating. I do congratulate you on the vision to do this. We're very grateful that you've shared it with us, and we do wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much.